The last letter. There was once a young woman named Anna who lived in a quiet coastal town. She worked as a florist. And every morning, she opened her shop early to greet the day with the scent of fresh roses and daisies. She loved her peaceful life. But there was one part of her heart that had never healed, the part that belonged to Thomas. Thomas had been her childhood best friend, the boy who lived next door. They grew up together, chasing fireflies in the summer and building snowmen in the winter. As they grew older, their friendship quietly turned into love, the kind that didn't need grand confessions. Just soft smiles and long walks under the stars. When Thomas turned 18, he joined the army. He promised he'd come back, that he'd write every week. And he did, at first. His letters were filled with stories, jokes, and little drawings. Anna read them over and over again, waiting for the day she'd see him standing at her doorstep. But one day, the letters stopped. No warning, no goodbye. Anna wrote to him every week for months. But nothing came back. Eventually, she stopped writing. She thought he had moved on, maybe even forgotten her. A piece of her broke quietly. But she never told anyone. She buried herself in her work and tried to forget. 10 years passed. One rainy afternoon, an old man entered her flower shop, holding a small, weathered box. He looked at Anna with gentle eyes and said, "I was Thomas's nurse. He wanted me to give this to you." Anna's hands trembled as she opened the box. Inside were dozens of letters, unopened, unread, all addressed to her. Thomas had never stopped writing. He had been injured during a mission and spent years in a hospital. Unable to move, unable to send the letters. He had written every day, thinking of her. At the very bottom of the box was the last letter, written just days before he passed away. It read, "My dearest Anna, if you're reading this, it means I never got the chance to see your smile again. But know this, I loved you every single day. You were my light in the darkest times. If I could have one wish, it would be to walk through the door of your shop and buy flowers from you one more time. Forever yours, Thomas." Anna sat on the floor of her flower shop, tears falling silently onto the petals around her. She didn't know how long she cried. But when she finally stood up, she took a single red rose and placed it in a small vase by the window. Every day after that, she placed a fresh rose in the same vase. For Thomas. For the love that never faded.
Once upon a time in a small town by the sea, there was a young woman named Lily. She worked at a quaint little bookstore, surrounded by stories of romance and adventure. Every day, she dreamed of finding a love like the ones in her books. One rainy afternoon, a young man named James walked into the store, seeking shelter from the storm. He was drawn to a book on the shelf and started flipping through it. Lily noticed him and smiled, offering him a cup of tea. They struck up a conversation about the book, and soon, they were talking about their favorite stories, their dreams, and their lives. As the rain continued to pour outside, the connection between them grew stronger. They talked for hours, not noticing the time passing. When the storm finally stopped, James stood up to leave. But before he did, he turned to Lily and said, "I feel like I've known you forever. Can we meet again?" Lily's heart fluttered. She smiled and said, "I'd love that." From that day forward, James and Lily met often, their bond growing deeper with each passing day. Their love story, like the books on the shelves, was filled with magic, adventure, and a promise of forever.